And welcome back. We are live with our first bracket preview edition of March Madness 2025 here at CBB Review, and we will be previewing the South region. We've got a bracket, guys. It is Sunday night. We've been watching college basketball nonstop pretty much the entire weekend. Unfortunately, there's now an actual day tomorrow, Monday, where there's no college basketball games, but after that first round, first weekend, in my opinion, the best time of the entire sports calendar. So that is what we will be talking about over these next couple of days, starting with the South region today. But before we get started with our South region round by round picks, Matt, a word from our sponsor.
Are you a high school or college student athlete looking to take your brand to the next level? Want to maximize your potential both on and off the field? Introducing Glory to Glory Sports Agency, where we take our athletes from glory to glory. At Glory to Glory, we specialize in guiding top student athletes like you through the complexities of the new NIL landscape and the transfer portal, ensuring you have the support and resources you need to succeed. Why choose Glory to Glory? Because they believe in more than just athletic prowess. They focus on your academics, personal and spiritual growth, financial and future opportunities. Their team of experts works tirelessly to craft a personalized plan that aligns with your goals, helping you shine in your sport and beyond. Whether you're looking for guidance on college recruitment, marketing your personal brand, or you just need a trusted advisor by your side, Glory to Glory has got you covered. Are you ready to go from glory to glory? Join the Glory to Glory family today. Visit g2gsa.com or connect with them on Instagram at Glory to Glory Sports Agency to learn more and start your journey to greatness.
All right, and now let's get started with our South region preview as we flash that bracket up real quick. So here we go. We're starting with the number one overall seed, the Auburn Tigers. Here's how we'll do it, guys. We will be with the three people, a 2 out of 3 consensus will be needed for the team to advance to the next round in our little bracket simulation. So we start with, like I said, the number one overall seed, Auburn, playing 273 and 311. That playing game of 16 seeds. Those are their KenPom ranks of Alabama State and St. Francis. Those have to be like two of the worst NCAA tournament teams I've ever seen. My pick is Auburn. Matt?
We really do not even need to talk about this. I know that 16 seeds have beaten 1 seeds before. This is not one of those cases. These are arguably 2 of the worst 16 seeds ever in the NCAA tournament. Auburn will win this by a landslide.
I agree. We have a lot to talk about, a lot of great matchups in this region, so let's keep this quick, and I'll go with Auburn here.
All right, Ariel, I'm going to throw it right back to you. We got number 8, Louisville, number 9, Creighton. You made a statement before we went on air. You said that you think this is a brutal 8-9 matchup, so tell us why, but most importantly, tell us who you think is going to win this game.
Yeah, first of all, first game of the tournament, I think one awesome way to set the tone of this entire tournament. 2 really talented teams, 2 great coaches in McDermott and Kelsey. I think a lot of people were surprised that Louisville was an 8 seed. I mean, they lost 2 games in conference, and they looked really impressive throughout the whole season. I think the tournament got it wrong by putting them here. And then, you got Creighton. Kalkbrenner is one of the best players in the country. He'll be an All-American, no doubt. Stephen Ashford's really talented as well. And then, like I said, McDermott, he's made the second weekend in 3 of the last 4 tournaments. So I think it really comes down to experience here. I don't think Louisville has the bigs to match up with Kalkbrenner. I think their depth is a little bit better, but I'm going to go with the experienced coach here, and I'm going to go with Creighton to pull off the win here.
I want to take this a step further because I think these 2 teams actually match up with each other really, really well. Both Ryan Kalkbrenner, you got Noah Waterman, a guy that should be able to kind of handle him on the inside, and if Kalkbrenner stretches a little bit, Waterman can follow him out there. But to me, experience and the fact that this is the first tip time on Thursday, right? Louisville is at home in this game. So that edge goes to the Cardinals. But to me, the experience of Creighton, the experience of what they've done, the fact that both these teams played late into the day on Saturday night, I think that Creighton is going to be the type of team that is able to get over that rest and take a win here. But I want to note that this game is in Lexington. So it is going to be a pro-Louisville crowd. Creighton's going to have to win this game on the road. That is going to be a very tough environment to play in. So this is one of those games I'm going to go back and forth with all day. But when you're just looking at it from a neutral site perspective, even though it's really not going to be, I really like Creighton with this to win this game.
All right, Creighton, clean sweep across the board. That is my pick as well. I think what Ariel said at one point, he doesn't know if Louisville has like the answer to Kalkbrenner in the post, and I totally agree. I know Waterman for Louisville, not a rim protector. James Scott, like okay, but Louisville, I think they ran through the ACC fine, but just because they didn't have to deal with that threat. Now, I think their limited depth due to really early season injuries will come out to kind of bite them, and I think it'll really be the first time we see Louisville get exposed in a long time. So I'm going to go with Creighton in this one. So Creighton clean sweep across the board. Really interested in this one because this is like the most popular 5-12 upset pick of like that I could remember. I just think everybody's on UC San Diego. Matt, are you with the general public here? Do you like this 12/5?
I am very scared about this game, and the reason I say it is because I haven't seen enough of UC San Diego. I'm going to admit that right now. I've obviously watched them. I know the story. They can shoot the lights out of the ball, and they're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. But the thing is, so is Michigan, and Michigan's got 2 7-footers, one of them and Danny Wolf, who can stretch outside. So I was talking to Ariel earlier when this bracket came out. I already know what his pick's going to be, but my thing here is this is not a Purdue team where a mid-major can come in and just stretch, and it doesn't matter if Zach Edey gets 50 points or not. This is a Michigan team that's got 7-footers that can move all over the court and that can do other things. So I think that upset alert is right, but I like the Wolverines to move on.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. I honestly, you guys talk about Louisville Creighton being the best game of this region. I think this is the best game of this region. It's going to be a real chess match. Danny Wolf and that pick and roll with Vlad Golden could give UC San Diego all sorts of mismatches. But one of Michigan's big issues on the year is turnovers, and UC San Diego is top 10 in turnover rate, both offensively and defensively. So it could be a real big chess match there. UC San Diego does not have a ton of length, so that could be a problem. I like both offenses more than I like anything, so maybe the over might be a value. That said, my pick, UC San Diego. So Ariel, break the tie for us.
All right, I got a couple stats here. My first one, I got this from NCAA Buzzer Beaters on Twitter. So if you're watching this, thank you for the stat. The Big Ten 5 seed is 3-6 against the 12 seed in the last 11 tournaments. So that's one thing. Another one is the Big Ten champion, and this isn't an official stat. I don't have this written down, but just I know this over the last couple tournaments that the Big Ten champion, conference tournament champion, has lost in the first round pretty much every year the last 5 years. Illinois kind of broke that curse last year, but it was a pretty common theme. The one thing I do want to talk about is, like Dan mentioned, those turnovers that Michigan struggles with. Michigan is one of the highest turnover teams of any Power 5 conference. UC San Diego forces a ton of turnovers. They have the leader in the country in turnovers per game, or in steals per game, in Hayden Gray. And Chris Howell averages 2 as well. I think they're going to give Trey Donaldson, Roddy Gale hell all night. And I don't know if the 2 Michigan big men will be enough to kind of close that gap. So I'll go with the upset here. I know, Dan, you said it's one of the most popular picks, but I think it's for a reason. And I think that the 12 seed will move on here.
That's very fair. Moving on, number 4, Texas A&M, number 13, Yale. I'll go first this time. 2 really physical teams. Not that I love Texas A&M, but I honestly think they just beat Yale at their own game. I think they're just better at what Yale does good. They're first in offensive rebounding rate. They're Texas A&M, that is 16th in free throw rate. They do not shoot free throws well, even though they get to the line a lot. So that could be a big factor. But I think that with Texas A&M combined with their really good backcourt, Wade Taylor, Tyrese Radford, give me the Aggies. We'll throw it to Ariel next.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those upset picks that a lot of people pick just to kind of be trendy, but I think Texas A&M gets it done here. I do think it would be fun if Yale won, and then they won the next round as well, and we got an Auburn-Yale rematch in the Sweet 16, as everyone remembers. Yale did beat Auburn in the first round last year, but I trust Buzz Williams. I think offensively they'll just be too aggressive, and I don't really like the way that Yale ended the season. 5 straight games not decided by double digits. They lost to Harvard. Harvard didn't even make the Ivy League tournament. I think they kind of took their foot off the gas at the end of the season, and I don't know if they can get it back on against a really talented team in A&M.
Look, I'll be honest. I know you guys are going with A&M here, and I usually do not go with the trendy Ivy League pick because it just seems to be something where it's like, all right, you're just picking someone from a conference. It makes no sense. Where's the reasoning behind it? I've got a lot of reason that Yale is going to win this game, though. Texas A&M is the best rebounding team in the country. Well, Yale's top 25, so they're going to be right with them there on the glass. Texas A&M is not only one of the worst shooting teams in this tournament, they're one of the worst shooting teams in the country. They're sub 300 in three-point percentage. That is not good. That really scares me against the Yale team that can also light it up, that can defend. John Poulikitis is a star. Nick Townsend, Besma Bang averages like almost 6 boards a game as a guard. Guys, when this game is over, I want you to ask me, how did Yale out-rebound Texas A&M? And I'm going to have an answer for you.
So 12-13, round of 32. Is that what you're going with? I love it.
I want to.
Our consensus is the 4-12, but yeah.
I think you guys went with A&M. So I mean, we'll leave A&M on in this bracket, but gosh, I love Yale in this game for many reasons.
And good reference.
I'll put up a quick stat before Dan, you move on. Double-digit seed. I was looking this up before because I was kind of curious. A double-digit seed has made the Sweet 16 the last 6 years in this region. So if you guys remember last year, NC State as the 11, Princeton made it in 2023. I think everyone remembers that 15 seed run. Michigan made as the 11 in 2022. And then that Oral Roberts run was in the South as the 15 in 2021. Back in 2019, it was Oregon as the 12. And in 2018, it was Loyola Chicago. Everyone remembers that Final Four run. So history says a double-digit seed is going to make the Sweet 16, and it could very easily be one of these two.
Guys, I want to throw one more thing here while I'm at it. Yale is top 20 in the country in 2-point percentage and 3-point percentage and assists per game. They're right up there as well. Texas A&M, I didn't misspeak with the 3-point percentage. They are 323rd in 3-point percentage, but they're also 330th in field goal percentage. So like this is a team that just does not shoot the ball well. Yale does. I get there's a lot of reasons to pick A&M, and Wade Taylor's one of my favorite clutch players in the game, but it literally might get to the point, in my opinion, where it doesn't matter how clutch he is because Yale might be up 15 already.
Yeah, I mean, if you do something really well and you rely on that to win, but then someone else neutralizes it, that could be a recipe for disaster. So I understand your reasoning. I still like my A&M pick, but let's move on. We got the 6 versus the 11, so it's just going to be like interesting to pick because we don't know necessarily who's going to win the play-in. So I guess let's start by picking the play-in game. Let's do it that way. So UNC San Diego State, quickly, who do you think is going to win, Matt?
North Carolina. I think they realize that everyone's kind of against them and people think they didn't deserve to get here. And I think when that happens against a San Diego State team that hasn't really played too well, I think the Tar Heels come out of that one.
I trust Brian Dutcher in this one. He's done before. Really experienced coach. He'll make sure that these guys are playing defense. They're playing their butts off, and UNC doesn't play great defense. And I think if they limit them offensively, then they'll get done easily. I will say a lot depends on if Magungwa plays for San Diego State. He's missed a good chunk of time. I think his last game was February 22nd, so it's been a minute. And they did say today that he'll be available for the tournament. Need to see it to believe it, but he's a huge factor. And if he's not playing, I don't think they can win this game.
Yeah, I'm going San Diego State as well. Kind of a repeat of last year's ACC versus Mountain West play-in game. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't need to elaborate further on that, but I think San Diego State wins this, which sets up Ole Miss versus San Diego State as our consensus 6 versus 11. I'll throw it back to you, Ariel. What is your pick?
Man, I was hoping I would go last because my opinion is I need to find out if Gwalt's playing before I can make my pick because I think if he's playing, they win this game. If he's not playing, I think Ole Miss gets it done. So I'm actually going to throw it back to you guys, and then if I need to tie break, then I will.
I'm going to go Ole Miss. I'll go Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss beats San Diego State or UNC. I like the team. I like their 6 double-digit scores. Pretty much everybody except for Malik Dia is a senior. Yeah, I mean, UNC's lack of front court production on both ends has been problematic. It will continue to be. So if they're in that game, I think Ole Miss wins as well. I just like Ole Miss to move on here.
I do too. UNC, for the longest time, it was always about, the big guys down low and teams not really being able to match up with them inside. I'm not saying that Ole Miss is this overly big team because they don't really have a go-to center like that, but Malik Dia and Jamin Brakefield, both at 6'9", 6'8". I mean, Dia's listed at 240. I don't know if that's, correct or not, but I still think that that's something that could give UNC trouble because just their size all season has been a big disadvantage for the Tar Heels. And again, that's if they win. If San Diego State wins, I still like Ole Miss to win this game. I just think they have too many scorers, too much experience on this team. That's one thing I've noticed about a team that's been in the middle of the pack almost even toward the bottom of the SEC. But come tournament time, they've got guys that I think are hungry. Some people that have been there before, but I think more than most teams, guys that are hungry for a win like this.
Well, it makes my life easier. The fact that we're even talking about UNC in this game is ridiculous. They should not be in the tournament. I think it's pretty ridiculous that they got a spot over some other teams like West Virginia and Indiana. Even though I don't think either of them are great and are clear picks to make it, UNC had no resume details that was worth having them in this tournament.
But I think the bottom line is none of them are great. The fact that there were no bid stealers are the only reason we're having this conversation in the first place. So I'm not sympathizing that much with an Indiana or West Virginia. West Virginia maybe, but I don't think an Indiana fan I'm really sympathizing with. I'm sorry. Our apologies to our contributors over there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have strong thoughts on the bubble, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Moving on, we got Iowa State at Lipscomb. This is an interesting game because Lipscomb's not a team that's been talked about a lot, but I think they profile really well as a mid-major. They take a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They have a name to watch in Jacob Ognasevich.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the pronunciation there? But Keshon Gilbert out for Iowa State. This could be one of those games that kind of sneaks up on folks. It's 3-14. It's risky. I am going to go with Iowa State, but it's not something I feel like is going to be easy for them. And for that reason, I might hesitate to pick Iowa State to make a run just because of the first round risk right there. But what do you think, Matt?
To me, this is not risky, and this is my favorite upset pick of the bracket. If it's not a healthy Iowa State team, this is a Lipscomb team that shoots almost 33s per game. They make most of them. I mean, they're right up there in three-point percentage. Having Ognasevich helps out because it's not just a team that chucks up threes. It's a team that chucks up threes, makes a lot of them, but their top player is someone who Iowa State is going to have to guard, right? This is not just another 6'2" guy and another small guy that's going to be shooting up shots. This is a 6'8" guy who can bang down low and is going to have to command the attention of Iowa State throughout because he can really do everything on a court. So, it's not a healthy ISU team. It's a Lipscomb team playing hot. They do everything well. And guys, if Iowa State starts to foul, Lipscomb is the 6th best free throw shooting team in the country, almost 80% as a team. So defense is going to be priority number one for the Cyclones.
Lipscomb played 2 tournament teams in the non-conference.
Yeah.
They lost by 16 to Arkansas, and they lost to, Matt, you're going to want to hear this. They lost by 29 to Kentucky.
It's
29 points. Now, Kentucky's a great team. Don't get me wrong. They're also a 3 seed like Iowa State. Iowa State doesn't have Gilbert. That's going to be huge. Taman Lipsey missed the quarterfinal game in the Big 12 tournament. If he's not playing, I think Lipscomb has a very good chance. I do think he will play, though, and I think Jefferson could do a good job of canceling out Nosovich. Then it comes down to the guard play, and Curtis Jones is by far the best shooter and scorer in this game. So I'm going to go Iowa State. I do worry about their long-term potential, like Dan said, but I think in this game they get it done.
All right, number 7, number 10, Marquette against New Mexico. Ariel, you've gone last the last couple times, so I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, love this matchup. This is going to be such a fun matchup. I mean, Donovan Dent versus Cam Jones. You can say 2 of the top 5 guards in the country, and I don't think anyone would blink an eye. Getting them to play each other would be awesome. Everything tells me not to pick the Mountain West team in this because they always lose the 7-10 matchup. But, man, I love this New Mexico team. They just fly up and down the court. Like I talked about, Dent is electric. And I think the difference maker here is Nelly Jr. Joseph. Marquette's bigs are a little bit underwhelming, and Junior Joseph's been a beast. In that last game where they lost, he had 8 rebounds, but in the 5 games before that, he had 18 rebounds, 16 rebounds, 15 rebounds, 13, and 16. He's a beast on the boards. Marquette doesn't really have a go-to rebounder like that. Ben Gold, I don't know if he'll be able to really match up with him, and I think Richard Pitino's a good enough coach where he'll take advantage. People also forget about Shaka Smart's tournament struggles. I mean, he made it deep last year, but before that, he really struggled in his time at Marquette and obviously at Texas before that Final Four run really gets clouded by everyone's judgment of him. So give me New Mexico. Here's the 10 seed. I love this. I'd love to see that 7-10 Michigan State Marquette matchup, a rematch from 2 years ago where their seeds were flipped, but I think New Mexico gets this one.
I'm going to go with Marquette in this one. I am a little bit afraid. They did just beat Xavier. Before that, the last tournament team that they beat was Creighton all the way back on January 3rd. So they went almost a full Big East schedule without beating any of the Big East tournament teams. But you look at the non-conference, right? And Marquette rolled through the non-conference. That included wins at Maryland, against Purdue by 18, and against Wisconsin by 14. Also lost to Iowa State. That was on the road, though. So it was a real gauntlet of a non-conference for Marquette. They did 3-1 against those teams that you could argue those are their top teams that they played, real top tournament teams, right? So that's kind of what they're going to be up against in New Mexico. There's a couple X factors here for me: Stevie Mitchell and Ben Gold, right? They're going to have to play well for Marquette. We know what Cam Jones is going to do. We know what the rest of this team is going to do. But for a team that has a very light bench and doesn't go very deep, they're going to need those role players that do play minutes to step up, because it can't just be the Cam Jones show in the tournament.
I'm going to break the tie here. I am going to go with Marquette. I have the same line of thinking as Ariel. Like, I'm just so worried to pick Marquette. They've been on the decline for a while. New Mexico is a fun team. They're a fast team. But, like, it's just the history repeating itself element, where it's the Mountain West in the 7-10, the first round. It's the fact that I picked New Mexico to beat Clemson last year and they lost by like 24. So I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I was using a similar line of thinking too in my New Mexico pick. So just for that reason, I'm going to go Marquette. And then finally, our last first round game, the 2 versus the 15, Michigan State and Bryant. Is there anything to talk about here, Matt? I don't think there is, but you let me know. Look,
Bryant's been playing well, and look, I know they're Tony on the boat over on Twitter is a big Bryant guy, and he's hyping this up. This is their I forget the wording he's using, but Bryant's looking to get to the Big East, and this is their chance if they get a win over Michigan State. Yeah, this is not Middle Tennessee. I'm sorry. This is a Michigan State team that's playing as hot as anyone in the country. We can move on. But shout out to Tony on the boat, because I don't know many people that are as big of a fan as him for a program like Bryant.
Yeah, like I mentioned, one of the stats I said earlier, that the 15 seeds won in this region 2 of the last 4 years. That's my only logic of Bryant beating Michigan State. Besides that, I think Michigan State's a better team, and they'll have no problem here.
Shout out Earl Timberlake, though. Earl Timberlake on Bryant. He's like a unicorn, one of those like 6'8" guys who averages close to 5 assists per game. That's pretty incredible.
He's been around forever. I mean,
he
I remember back in the day. It's crazy. He's still there.
Yeah. And sorry to Bryant, we cropped out their logo a little bit with the little text on the bottom, but we still love you. All right, second round. So we got Auburn we had Creighton, right? Auburn against Creighton. Okay, so I personally think Auburn kind of runs through this pretty easily. I'm going to throw it to Ariel next, because I think you made an allusion to the fact that you're worried about Auburn's long-term value with this 8-9 matchup in the second round, but I think Auburn is just a significantly better team. This strikes me as a game they win by like 15, 18 points.
Interesting. I think that Kalkbrenner versus Janai Broom matchup is going to be elite, and I think they'll cancel each other out pretty well. Greg McDermott knows how to get done. Like I mentioned earlier, he's made it to the Sweet 16 and farther in 3 of the last 4 tournaments. I do think Auburn wins this game because of their other pieces. I think Ashworth and Jemiah Neal aren't going to be able to compete with guys like Miles Kelly and Chad Baker-Mazar if he doesn't get ejected, Denver Jones, all those guys. And I think Denver Jones is going to do a great job on Ashworth. So I think this will be close. This reminds me of Kansas versus Creighton in the round of 32 when Kansas won it all in 2022, where they were kind of going back and forth, and then Kansas pulled away at the end. I think it's going to be pretty similar. But like Dan said, I think I got Auburn winning this one.
Yeah, like there's a lot in me that wants to pick Creighton. I really wish that Creighton was in another bracket, but it's just the depth of Auburn and the non-depth of Creighton, right? Another Big East team. What's up with these Big East teams with no depth, right? I mean, Creighton, it's always kind of been the thing there, but this is not the team that you want to play when you don't have a lot of depth to match up. They're going to get tired. There's too many guards, too many players on Auburn that can make shots, and just not enough on Creighton, honestly. You watched it against St. John's. After a while, when it's just Jemiah Neal, it's just Stephen Ashworth, it's just Ryan Kalkbrenner, you need someone else. And St. John's exposed that, and I think Auburn can do the same. All right, so Auburn across the board. They're in our simulated Sweet 16 here. We had UC San Diego against Texas A&M as our other second-round matchup. Matt, what do you think? I I know I would have had Yale going through, but because I didn't, then I'm going to have to pick UC San Diego because, again, I might sound like the biggest Texas A&M hater. I promise I have nothing against Texas A&M, but I do have a lot against the way that this team can literally not shoot the basketball. Buzz Williams should invest in a one of those basketball return things where people can get some shots up in the gym, because I have a feeling that he's kind of just running drills and running plays and just maybe not teaching people how to shoot correctly, because I don't care who Texas A&M matches up with. If they're able to get a first-round win, they're losing in this round. The Tritons are moving on.
Let's have some fun. I'll go with the Tritons as well. Tate Jones on UC San Diego is probably one of the best players you never heard of. He can get 25 and 5 on any given night, and he's a leader on the court and off the court. I think he's a 5-year guy, so he has that experience, even if it isn't in the tournament. Like I mentioned, their guards are super pesky. Their bigs are aggressive. They're really smart. Eric Olin is one of the top coaches, and I'll be surprised if he still has a job at UC San Diego after next year. Yeah, let's have some fun. Like I mentioned, a double-digit seeds made the Sweet 16s the last 6 years in this region. I think UC San Diego is definitely capable of that.
Question for you. The transfer portal is open, correct?
It opens after first weekend, I believe.
I want to have some fun here. If it's Yale and Michigan, does Danny Wolf transfer back to Yale for this game?
Oh, boy.
Does the crowd boo or do they cheer? I think that's a better question.
I'm obviously kidding.
Unless they win, then maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because I'm not breaking any tie. I'm struggling on this one a little bit, but I'll go UC San Diego as well. I'll go UCSD. I think the problems that Matt pointed out with Texas A&M are valid. Now, it's difficult to pick a team to go to the Sweet 16 when you don't necessarily know they're going to make it out of the first round. Whereas, like, I'm more confident in Texas A&M. So, like, if you're playing it by like game theory and value, which is how I do my bracket pools, like, then I'm going UCSD. Then I'm going A&M. But in this individual matchup, I think UCSD wins. So we'll have them against Auburn in the Sweet 16, which we'll talk about in a second. But going to the bottom half of the region, so we had Ole Miss, right? We had Ole Miss, and we had Iowa State. Barely had Iowa State escaping Lipscomb. So I'll start with this. I'm going to go Ole Miss. I think Iowa State is going to be less than healthy. We already talked about the fact that Keshon Gilbert is 100% out for the entire tournament. They're banged up otherwise. Like I said, I like this Ole Miss team. They spread the wealth, their experience. They have all the formulas as a solid, 6 seed that makes the Sweet 16. I don't think they're like super talented with superstar talent and going to, make a run into like through the second weekend, but I think they can make a run to the second weekend. So,
yeah, I'm going to be real too. I would have Ole Miss in this game if they played Iowa State, kind of for the same reason as we've talked to a little bit before. A lot of depth on this Ole Miss team. The Rebels can definitely just come at you. I know we mentioned it in their first round matchup too, right? 6 guys that score in double figures. I will throw this out because I did pick Lipscomb, and I know we picked Iowa State as a team, but Lipscomb, for how good of a free throw shooting team they are, if they were to match up with Ole Miss fouls some of the most in college basketball. So that's an interesting thing there if that were to become a matchup. But that is so far down the line. I know that's not what we picked, but hey, if you're out there like me and you're going between Ole Miss and Lipscomb, that's something to look at. But I do like Ole Miss in this one.
I still like Iowa State. Ole Miss kind of ended the season on a rough note, 3-5 in their last 8 games. I think even without Gilbert, Iowa State's just super talented. And Curtis Jones is an elite scorer. Joshua Jefferson's a really underrated player. He kind of does it all. Deshaun Jackson's dominant down low. And then they have one of the smartest guards in the country in Taman Lipsey. The defense has been struggling a little bit, but they're still a top 10 defense according to Ken Palm, while still being a top 20 offense. So I think if they make it to this game, I still think they get it done. But consensus says otherwise.
And then we have 7-seeded Marquette against 2-seeded Michigan State. Ariel.
I picked New Mexico in this game, but we picked Marquette. So I'll keep it going with Marquette, even though I am a little bit skeptical about Shaka Smart in March. I think they get revenge from 2023 when the seeds were flipped and Michigan State pulled off the upset against Tyler Kolek and co. I think they have a lot of great talent. I think David Joplin can get hot whenever, and I think this is one of those games where he does get hot. I don't know if Michigan State has a go-to guy, and I think they're really young when it comes to that. They'll probably look for Jace Richardson to kind of go off, and I don't know if he can do that in a tournament setting yet. He wasn't great in the Big Ten tournament, or at least what we expected him to be. So
Yeah,
I think it wins this, and I'll go with the upset here.
I'll stick with Michigan State, so Matt will ultimately break the tiebreaker here. Michigan State, I think, yes, like they didn't have a single player in even like the consideration for any of the All-American teams, which is crazy considering they're a 2 seed and just a really successful team, won the Big Ten regular season. And, Tom Izzo's coaching job is, I know he's like a dinosaur. He's done it forever, but the fact that he still did it with this team is kind of incredible. I know there's a month named after him per John Rothstein. I'm going to go with Michigan State here. So Michigan State's the Sweet 16 to play. We have Ole Miss. That's a kind of a weak Sweet 16 matchup. But
hey, I didn't go yet, so I've not broken this.
I'm saying in mine.
Okay, because I honestly am flipping 50-50 between this. There's half of me that looks at Michigan State's depth against a Marquette team that doesn't have any depth at all. There's the other half of me that looks at a Michigan State team that cannot shoot the three, and that could be an issue against a Marquette team that can light it up from three. So if Marquette decides to have a three-point shooting party, then what's Michigan State answering with, right? So I'm going back and forth between these things. I think the difference for me here is I know that in game one, it was like Cam Jones can't just take over against New Mexico, and that's because New Mexico has the options. I don't see it the same way in this Michigan State game. I want to go with Marquette here. So I'm bringing Marquette onto the Sweet 16, which, gosh, am I really doing that?
I feel the same way, but I want to bring up their non-conference schedule. They played Maryland, beat them at Maryland. They played Purdue, beat them by 18. They played Georgia, who's in the tournament. They beat them by 11. Lost to Iowa State by 11, but then they beat Wisconsin, 3 seed, by 14. Once they had conference play, they definitely slowed down, but they could beat anyone in any other conference, clearly. And they've beaten some really high-level seeds, including, some of those top 3 seeds, like we mentioned. So I think they kind of get out of that rut, and I think they have enough talent to get it done.
I'm going with Michigan State. Got to. I just can't. I'm sorry. I know you said all that, and I know that I'm picking them over New Mexico for that reason, but Marquette just has not impressed me lately. It's silly for me to pick against a team like Michigan State that's playing so well. And they can defend, too. Like, I know Marquette can light it up, but Michigan State can defend. And I don't know. It could be such a testy game, but I'll go with the Spartans.
Yeah, we'll since we're on this conversation, we can pick the bottom one first. We go Michigan State against Ole Miss. That's our matchup, right? Michigan State doesn't do anything that has caught the public's attention, that has caught the media's attention, but the results speak for themselves. They won the Big Ten regular season. They won it pretty safely too. Like there's no doubt there. So I'm going Michigan State to advance to the Elite Eight. Again, it's a weak team to be in the Elite Eight, but like they're ultimately the 2 seed. They ultimately won a lot of games. They beat a lot of good teams. I'm going Michigan State as well to advance to the Elite Eight. I don't love this bottom half of the region at all. I'm not going to lie. I liked Iowa State when it first came out. Then I found out Gilbert's out for the tournament, 15 minutes after they got selected, which stinks for them. But yeah, I'm Michigan State in the Elite Eight for me. We'll go to Matt next.
I don't know if you want to go to me. Go to Ariel.
All right, Ariel.
I agree. I'm not a huge Ole Miss fan. I think they could lose in the first round. I mean, I don't know how many years back the stat goes, but the playing team wins pretty much every year, and it's either them or Texas and Xavier on their other side against Illinois. And I think Illinois is a much better team than Ole Miss. So I'd be surprised if they honestly make it to the Sweet 16. If they make it this far, I don't think they go farther, and I'll take Michigan State as well.
Thanks for breaking the tie, because I'm picking Michigan State, but I don't feel like it's fair to me to talk about them against Ole Miss because I have Lipscomb in the Sweet 16. So
and I have Iowa State. So
yeah. So I've got Michigan. Look, I'll put it this way. If Lipscomb makes it to the Sweet 16, I'll feel like the smartest man in the world, but they're not getting past Michigan State in no way in heck. So we will go 3 for 3 Michigan State, whoever they play in that round.
Auburn, UCSD. So we have a consensus on this. We all agree this will be our Elite Eight, or our Sweet 16 matchup to get to the Elite Eight. All right, who wants to go first here?
I'll go first. Interesting stat here that I found just looking at recent tournaments. The 1 seed in the South has failed to make the Elite Eight the last 3 seasons. I will say they lost the 4 and 5 seeds in all 3 seasons. It was never against the 12 seed. I think that's the case here. I think Auburn wins this game. UC San Diego can only go so far, and it's really impressive that in their first year of eligibility, they even make it to the Sweet 16. And maybe this is a sign that the NCAA should, let teams get in before then because they're clearly capable. But this Auburn team's too talented. There's no way Janai Broom is losing to a team like UC San Diego. Bruce Pearl's a great coach. He'll make sure that his team is prepared and they don't overlook this game. And I think they advance the Elite Eight here.
Yeah, look, I've got to agree with you here. UCSD would be a trendy pick if they make it that far, but sometimes you just got to be smart and you can't just be totally reckless with your bracket. And that's like the case. Like if you get Auburn versus UCSD to move on, you kind of just have to go with Auburn. Like I don't think you can overthink it and try to play those games that much longer. I've done it before. It never works out.
I agree with you. And here's the thing. So now we have Auburn against Michigan State, 1-2, a little chalky Elite Eight game. But even I'm going to pick Auburn. I'll tell you that because I think we've hesitated so much to even have Michigan State to this point, whereas I think Auburn has a really good bet to get to the Elite Eight. And I think they'd be favored by a good 3-4 points in this matchup anyway. I'm picking Auburn to win this game. But the overall point is even if you have Auburn losing in the Elite Eight, I think the average bracket will have them at least going to the Final Four. So you're still showing to the world that you don't like Auburn as much as the average person. And therefore, if Auburn loses in the round of 32 Sweet 16, you're still happy. That's the way you have to play it.
That's fair. I mean, you could I'm looking at Auburn as a team that I think Louisville or Creighton could beat them, especially Creighton if they get hot. But I know we already talked about all that. I think you got to be smart in some areas. Look, any team in March, I'm going to say this right now. People like to look at a 1 seed versus an 8 or a 9 seed going all the way back there as this huge upset, right? Louisville and Creighton are power conference teams that have played great teams all season long. And if you rank them, let's not even go if you rank them by seed. Louisville's literally ranked as the 13th team in the country.
Yeah.
Right? So this would not be a major upset if they beat Auburn. If Creighton were to beat Auburn, you're talking about pretty much a top 25 team right outside the top 25. This is not crazy things to think about. The crazy things are when you're picking mid-majors that don't have the track record. But power conference teams over power conference teams, seeding, you should throw it out of the window. That's my spiel.
Yeah, I agree. I think
you're picking Auburn?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Auburn, I know I talked about how tough that 8-9 matchup is, but if you're Auburn, you look at this region, you have to be smiling year to year. You get a banged up Iowa State team, Michigan State team who's really good, obviously, but a team that they feel confident they can beat. And then A&M team that they did lose to, but they have a lot of tape on them and they can beat them. And then Michigan as your 5, who we talked about. We all agree that they're going to lose in the first round. So I think Auburn's probably the biggest winner of the tournament so far, just the bracket overall. We'll see if that ends up being true, but pretty good draw for Auburn as the 1 seed, 1 overall seed.
I will say, speaking of Louisville seed, you alluded to it, Matt. I was shocked when they got the 8 seed, and because an ACC team was so underseeded, I'm shocked even more so that UNC even got in the tournament. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That was just part 1 of our 4 regions we will preview over the next coming days, 1 per day. So we'll get another one out tomorrow. We will be live. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on the socials, and happy March, everyone. Take care.